Okay guys, today we're going to be going over slope. We have some cars that we have out in the hallway that we're going to be working on. And I'm just going to go over a few of these as examples so that we have an idea of what we're doing. And if you have any questions, you can refer to this. So first things first, we're looking at like number 1 through 6. They're graphs. You have to find the slope of the graph. So what you need to do on your answer sheet is you're going to go ahead and copy the line, right? So we find the point, so we have a point there, so we plot that point right here, so we plot that point as well. Okay, and then we just draw the line through those points. Now, to find the slope of this, all we do is you do rise over run. So going from one point to the next, we go up, for 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So my rise would be positive 4. Then we go to the right 1, 2 times. So my run would be positive 2. 4 divided by 2 is just 2. So then my answer would be m is equal to 2. Alright. So we have positive. It's a positive slope. What if we have a negative slope like number 2 here? Alright, so we do the same thing. We copy the points. So we have a point at negative 2, positive 2. And we have a point at 3, 1. So then we draw a line through it. Okay, now to find the slope, you rise over run. So to go from here to here, looking at it from left to right, we go down 1 time. So that'd be negative 1 for my rise. Negative 1 for the rise. And then we go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get to the point. So my run is plus 5. Then if you take your calculator and you do negative 1 divided by 5, your answer would be 0.2. Okay. Now you could leave it as a fraction. So your answer could be m is equal to negative 1/5, or it could also be m is equal to negative 0.2. Either one is correct. Okay, make sure it stays negative. So if we look at it and it goes from left to right and it's going down, we should know that that's a negative slope. Okay, moving on. If we go look at number 7, we take a look at number 7 here. So number 7 says find the slope given the ordered pairs. So the formula we need to use for this, alright, so we'll take a look here. We're going to plot our points first. So the points that they give us are negative 3, negative 2, and negative 3, negative 5. Now you have to be really careful here. The formula we need to use is y2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Meaning, you have 2 points, point 1, point 2. So that's x1, y1, x2, y2. So go ahead and label those. x1, y1, x2, y2. Then when we plug these into our formula, you want to put them in parentheses. Okay, the reason being is because that minus sign is still there. So sometimes you're going to be subtracting a negative. So you want to make sure you put it in parentheses to make sure you're doing it correctly. So go ahead and set up the equation. So you're going to have a parentheses minus another parentheses divided by a parentheses minus another parentheses. And all we're going to do is now we're just going to take those numbers and plug them in. Okay, so we're going to do y2 first. So we go to y2, that's negative 5. So we plug in negative 5. Minus y1. So y1 needs to go right here. So we're going to plug in negative 2 for y1. That's my y value of the second point minus the y value of the first point. Down the bottom, it's going to be the x value from the second point, which is negative 3, minus the x value from the first point, which is also negative 3. Okay, then we're going to do the math. if you get a calculator and you type in -5 minus -2, all right, that's a negative minus a negative becomes a positive, so this is actually -5 plus 2. -5 plus 2 is -3. -3 minus -3, that becomes a plus 3. So -3 plus 3 would become 0. You can't divide by 0. Okay, so then if it's a 0 on the bottom like this, then it's actually what we call undefined. Okay, so let's do another one. Oh, I'm sorry, that was for number 9, by the way, not number 7. My fault, that's for number 9. Put it in the wrong place. So you are going to get times where it's going to be an undefined slope. So what does that mean? Well, if we go rise over run, that means I'm constantly rising, but I'm never running. So it's always going up and down, but it's never going left and right. So it's just going to be a straight line vertically. That's why it's an undefined slope. Okay, let's take a look at, I'll do another one. Let's do number 11. So number 11, I have -7 and 1 and 4, 1. Actually, no, I don't want to do number 11. Let's do a different one. Let's do 12. 6 and -3 and 8 and -1. Sorry, I'm bouncing around so much. So we're doing number 12 now. Okay, so same thing, we need to do y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we have to identify this is x1 because it's the x value of the first point. This is y1 because it's the y value of the first point. This is x2 because it's the x value of the second point. This is y2 because it's the y value of the second point. Plug those into your equation. So we do a parentheses minus a parentheses divided by a parentheses minus another parentheses. Start plugging in your values. So y2 is -1, y1 is -3. I cross them out as I use them. That way I don't get anything confused. x2 is 8, x1 is 6. So -1 minus -3, that is going to be -1 plus 3, which would be 2. 8 minus 6 is also 2. So now I have 2 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So my slope is 1. Okay, going to the tables. Alright, so let's take a look at number 13. You put in the values that they give you here. So I'm looking at number 13 on the card. So I'm going to put in my x and y values. So I have -8 and -5. -4, -4, 0, -3, 4, -2, and 8, -1. Now we're going to look at how they change. Okay, so we have the change in y and we have the change in x. I'm looking at how they change. So to go from -8 to -4, be very careful. Remember, if you're going from a larger negative to a smaller negative, you're going to go to the right on the number line. Right? This is further left on a number line, this is further right. So if I were to draw it, -8 would be over here, -4 would be over here. To go from -8 to -4, I'm not going to subtract, I'm going to add. So to go from -8 to -4, I'm going to add 4. To go from -5 to -4, again, be careful. It's not subtracting, it's adding 1. Because I'm getting closer to 0, I'm moving to the right on the number line. To go from 0 to 4, I'm adding 4. To go from -3 to -2, I add 1. So every single time, I'm adding by 1 on the y, and I'm adding by 4 on the x. So then I need to do my change in y divided by my change in x. So I'm going to take my y value, plus 1, divided by my change in my x value, plus 4. 1 divided by 4. I can leave it as 1/4. So m is equal to 1/4. I could also write it as m is equal to 0.25 if I want to put it in decimal form. Either one is correct. Hopefully we can understand how to do that. It's pretty easy. Now, moving on to, let's go look at number 19. All right, number 19. So these are going to be a little more difficult. We haven't really gone over these yet. Don't be intimidated by these. Okay, all you're doing here is you're essentially solving an equation. So whereas instead of solving for x, we're solving for y. So my whole goal here is to try to get y by itself. All right. So I'm going to treat this just like I would any other equation, but instead I'm just trying to get y by itself. So to do that, I need to get rid of this 4x. So to get rid of it, I'm going to do the opposite of positive 4x, and I'm going to subtract 4x. And then what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So these will cancel out. And then all I'm left with on the left side now is just y. Okay? 9 and 4x can't be added together because variables have to go with variables, constants have to go with constants. So I'm just going to put the 4x in front, so I would write this as negative 4x plus 9 because it's a positive 9. Once I have it set up in this format is called slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form is written as y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to go over that later on exactly what all those means. But all you need to know here is how to do this process. And you need to understand, how do I find the slope? Well, where's the m? The m is in front of the x. So my slope is always going to be the number in front of x. So in this case, my slope is negative 4. I'll do another one for y'all. Let's do number 22. So number 22, we have the equation x minus y equals 3. I need to get y by itself. So the first thing I need to do, again, I'm treating this just like I would treat any other equation, except I'm solving for y, and I'm treating x as if it was just a number. Okay? I need to get rid of x. This is positive 1x. So to get rid of positive 1x, I have to subtract 1x. Those cancel. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Constants cannot go with variables. They cannot be added or subtracted together. So I now have negative y, because that negative is still attached to the y, is equal to negative 1x plus 3. I want to get rid of that negative in front. So we've done this before. To get rid of that negative in front, you have to divide it by negative 1, because there's still an invisible 1 in front. The negative signs will cancel out. You're left with y by itself. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Now, when I divide the right side by negative 1, I'm not just dividing one of them by 1. I'm actually dividing the negative x by 1, and I'm dividing the positive 3 by negative 1. So negative x divided by negative 1, the negatives cancel out, and you're just left with x. Positive 3 divided by negative 1 is going to be negative 3. So my answer here now is y equals x minus 3. Well, what's the slope? It's the number in front of x. If there's not a number in front of x, we know that there's still a number in front. It's just invisible. It's an invisible 1. So my slope here would just be 1.